Greetings, listeners in Listenerland. Welcome to St. Louis in Tune with Arnold Stricker and Mark Langston, where we size up current and historic events involving people, places, and things in areas such as the arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, government, health, history, housing, humor, justice, and sports. We originate from and connect the gateway city to what is happening regionally, nationally, and internationally. Good day to you, Mark.
It is a good day. You know, I'm to the point now with my age. I don't want to talk. I'm not that old, but it's good to get up every day, just to know I can get up and get out of bed, and so that's good.
Absolutely, and we're going to run to our return to civility today.
Uh-oh.
We're running to this one because it is extremely relevant in what's going on in our culture today. There is a marked decline in something we value. It's the destruction of civility, said the Duke. 20 years ago, people may have had their differences of opinion. Of course they did, but they did not abuse one another for it. They respected those with whom they disagreed. They spoke courteously.
Oh, boy. That's good advice. Best advice I've heard in a while.
It's
actually
really good advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got people that are kind of just out of control.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, there is a guest that we're going to be talking to. He's got a lot of control.
Yeah.
He's a guitarist, songwriter, recording engineer, producer, and former music professor who played with Wild Cherry, Molly Hatchet, and currently plays with Foghat. He received 2 Grammy nominations, an American Music Award, 2 Platinum records, 3 Gold records, 6 records he engineered reached #1 on the Living Blues radio charts. He has appeared on the Grammy Awards Midnight Special, Don Kirshner's Rock Concert. And when he was with Wild Cherry, they toured with Average White Band, Isley Brothers, Earth, Wind & Fire, Jackson 5, and the Commodores. We're talking to guitarist Bryan Bassett from Foghat. Welcome, Bryan, to St. Louis in Tune.
Well, thanks a lot.
Well, you guys are going to be playing. I'm going to kick this off right away. April the 13th at 8 p.m. at the Lincoln Theater in downtown Belleville. And what a concert that's going to be. You've been on tour this whole time, or where is this in your tour schedule?
This is really sort of the beginning of our tour. We had played a couple shows. We did a cruise not too long ago, but really we kick off in the end of March, and and our main touring season is pretty much May through November. So we'll be out there all year long.
And you do like a gig a week or a gig every couple of weeks, or how frequently are your shows?
I think once we get into the summer, we're 3 or 4 a week, and other than that, 2 or 3 is probably our average.
Wow. So you have to have some kind of endurance to do that, but you've been doing this a long time, being on the road.
I have. Our saying is we play for free, we get paid to travel.
I love
it. Well, take us back to that harmony rock guitar that you first got when you were a kid.
Oh, boy.
And what was the motivation for you to really go and really hone those skills on that guitar?
And how old were you? I'd like to know how old you were when you started there.
I was probably a preteen. I think I was probably 12, 13, and Ed Sullivan's show with all the great British invasion bands, was on every weekend, and I think everyone in my neighborhood either got a guitar or some kind of a snare drum or something. So
wow.
There was a lot of basement garage bands that in those couple years there, and once I got that red guitar, it was a bright red Harmony Rocket one. I just rebought one on eBay not too long ago, too. It's not the exact one, but the same model, just to relive it. But when I opened up that case on, it was a Santa Claus gift, and Santa Claus, my parents, of course, they included a couple Jeff Beck records, so they put up a pretty... I don't know if that was by chance, but I was like, okay, well, what a way to start, trying to copy Jeff Beck, my favorite guy over the years. But, it was, that new guitar smell. I went nuts and had some guitar lessons by a local old big band guitarist. Jerry Condorato is a nice old Italian gentleman. He used to drive up in his Rambler, and my mother would chase my sisters out of the house, and I'd, once a week had a lesson. So I got off to a good start and just got the bug real early.
Wow. And Mom and Dad were rockers then with Jeff Beck.
I know. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well...
That's
they
great.
could have picked like Gloria or,
My mom and dad were listening to Nat King Cole, stuff like that.
Right.
Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass.
Right.
And I'd say,
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was, but I was like, hey, I want to hear some rock. Can I hear some rock and roll?
It might blow up the record player.
Oh, yeah. They didn't like that.
So you mentioned Jerry, and musicians always have an affinity for their teachers in one way or the other. A lot of times they love them or they hate them. And he obviously gave you a lot of good foundational skills. What are some of those skills that you really got from Jerry that helped you become the guitar player that you are today?
He was not a rocker at all, and I learned all the old big band classics, and so he taught me to read music first of all, and then we worked out of the Mel Bay system. 1 through 12. There's the books, as you advanced in technique, but that's what he taught me really was proper technique, hand position, and reading, and of course I applied that to after he left. I'd slap on a Kinks record or something, but. When he was there, we learned these very basic songs. But I learned proper hand technique. Really, that was what he taught me, and reading. I think were the two main things.
So when you go to University of Pittsburgh and you're working on your degree and you're kind of playing in some groups and things like that, just kind of catching up with other guitar players and exchanging stories and exchanging some kind of chords or things that you're doing.
Absolutely, yes. And Pittsburgh was a really great music city at that time. I mean, there was dozens of clubs to play. We played one of my early bands. We would play 5 nights a week in a different club every night, and cover music, of course. And we were just beginning to learn to write songs, but mostly we were playing top 40. But it was a real proving ground for learning your craft, and I did, really, if it wasn't for that, I doubt I would be where I am today. And it was just so many great musicians over the years. And then in the 70s, during Wild Cherry era, there was dozens of groups playing original music. It was almost like Seattle became later on as a music hub. And it was a beautiful place to learn to play. And eventually we had that hit record out of there.
So you were 22 when that number one hit came? And
that's right.
Wow. And you guys had been playing together for how long?
Just a couple of years, but we Rob Parisi, who was the band leader and wrote Play That Funky Music, had a band called Wild Cherry before I joined, and he had disbanded it and decided to give up music, and he was managing some restaurants, and that lasted about a year. And I told him when he broke his band up, I said, if you ever get back in the music business, give me a call. Which he did not too long, later, and we added a bass player and a drummer, my friend Ronnie Beidel and Alan Wentz. We did some auditions, and Ronnie I had played with in a previous band, and that was the quartet that we started playing. So we already, he had a great reputation in all the clubs in the tri-state area, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania. That was our sort of stomping grounds, and so we went right up on the, club basically, and really. That was the time when music was changing. We were playing like Robin Trower, Foghat, Led Zeppelin, but then the Commodores came out, Casey, David Bowie, Fame, and all these funk songs were coming.
Yeah.
The whole sound was changing. Mm-hmm. But we were really adept at learning what was current, and we really changed our sound from rock to what I want to call rock, funk rock. We tried to do rock sounds with funk beats, dance beats. Mm-hmm. And but the song is autobiographical. Someone actually did come up to our drummer at a gig and said, "Hey, you better start playing some funky music, white boy."
I was going to ask that. I read that in another interview, and I was going to probe you about that, the autobiographical nature of that song. Mm-hmm. So that's what it was.
We played these big discos. There were 2001 discos, and at the time that was a futuristic name, because it was 76. So, but the dance floor would be packed, and listening to the Commodores, Earth, Wind and Fire, and as soon as we start playing our set in between the DJ, it was like crickets were out there, and everyone once got a drink. And that's what someone actually did say to our drummer, you better play some funky music, white boy.
Whoa.
And,
wow. Love it.
And Ronnie came back to the dressing room and told Rob that. We all laughed, and Rob started writing the song that night, actually, in the club on a napkin.
Wow.
And I kind of want to.
What a story!
And those are how those songs happen. Is that they're kind of right off the cuff.
Yeah, right. And we were, I guess, styled ourselves after the Commodores in particular. Mm-hmm. I like the band Trapeze, which was a great, great band, and had sort of like funky elements, but rock and roll sounds. Mm-hmm. And I in my head, I was, what Robert Palmer later did. Mm-hmm. That's the sound I was having in my head, and we went a little bit more R&B-ish, I think, but then we got to play with so many great bands, on tour. It was, that song went up the charts so fast, and all of a sudden we're touring with the Commodores and Earth, Wind and Fire, and Average White Band, and it was pretty amazing, really.
So those all became influences, I'm presuming, in how you produce and how you write now, and even how you perform.
Yeah, very much so. And after the 70s, and after I left Wild Cherry, I actually went into the studio down here in Florida. I relocated to Florida. I met a guy named Bob Greenlee who owned a record label called King Snake Records. It was an indie blues label. And I was an engineer, producer, session guitarist for a lot of blues acts. Kenny Neal, Rufus Thomas.
Wow.
We did a couple hundred records over the course of 15 years there. So that really, then I really delved into American blues, which was the funny thing about growing up being a British Invasion fan.
Right.
You start seeing these songwriters, who's Muddy Waters, who's Otis Rush, who are these guys? And then you start discovering America's blues roots and how much it, meant to the British guys, and it's funny how that, I liked all the British guitar players, Peter Green, Jeff Beck, of course, Eric Clapton, but they were all enamored with the American players. So it's funny how that went back and forth. But that really developed my style, I guess, the blues and then rock on top of that. That's my natural style is blues, rock, guitar.
Yeah, and then you kind of went to Molly Hatchet for a while and played with them.
Love it.
I did, and
fun band.
I like Southern rock. I didn't know that much about it really, but I was on tour with Lonesome Dave in Europe, and we were playing with Molly Hatchet, and Foghat. This is, I guess, we're jumping ahead to about 89, I guess 90 through 92. I played with Dave, and all the original members of Foghat were reforming in 92, and I just finished a tour with Molly Hatchet, and Danny Joe asked me onto his bus and asked if I would join his band. He knew that I was basically out of a job. So I said, he said, "You want to join our band?" I go, "Yes, sir, I do. Thank you." And but I did 3 albums with them, and it was very challenging from a guitar standpoint. A lot of harmony guitars, not unlike the Allman Brothers, but a little bit more rock-oriented, really.
This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of St. Louis and Tune. We're talking to Bryan Bassett, who's a guitarist for Foghat. They're going to be performing at the Lincoln Theater in downtown Belleville, April the 13th. I'm kind of enamored by studio musicians, and you've done some, like you were in a studio house band, and how a lot of times they are heard on a lot of records and for a lot of performers, but people really don't know who they are. And what was that experience like?
Well, what I loved about it, when I had a band in Pittsburgh after Wild Cherry, we would try, we had a great band. We were sort of Night Ranger style. We had good management, the guys that manage Styx now. Charlie Bresco was our manager back then. But we could not get a record deal, and it was very frustrating to have a lot of great songs and just have them die on the vine. It was really difficult to make a record in those days. It wasn't like now with the laptop. I'm, in fact, mixing on a laptop the new Foghat record as we speak. But back then, you needed the backing and the distribution and everything of a record company, and without the deal, you didn't really go anywhere. So when I got the opportunity to work with an independent record label, we didn't sell millions of records, we sold thousands of records. If we sold 25,000 records, we were ecstatic. Blues records. But what I loved about it was we were able to get a band in and work on a record and put it out, and the group would have merchandise to sell on the road. We were on all the college radio stations and anyone that featured blues. So just to be able to do projects, have it completed, get a product in your hand, that was very satisfying in that time. When it was very difficult for bands to get record deals. So we helped a lot of young artists.
Now, when was it that you really started to pick up slide guitar and use some of the slides in your performances? Was that when you were at the university, or?
I played a little bit of, as a session musician, I played a little slide. But when I met Lonesome Dave, the great guitarist Pat Travers, who was a friend of ours when I moved to Florida, brought Dave to one of our. I had a quartet called Blue House, and we played every weekend in Orlando. And he brought Lonesome Dave to one of our shows, and we played very eclectic, songs by, southeastern blues guys, Lightning Slim, Lonesome Sundown, all these really, odd songs. Dave knew every one of them, being the blues historian that he really was. And we started jamming, and then he asked me to go on tour with him, and he goes, "Oh, you play slide, by the way?" And I was like, "Oh, of course, every day." It's like an actor. "Hey, do you ride a horse?" "Oh, yeah, I ride them all the time."
Yeah.
But so I really, when I met Dave, I really studied the Foghat songbook intensely, and worked on my slide technique. So that's really when I got into it heavy.
Yeah.
Discuss that, because I think people, I did a little research on that before we were getting ready to talk to you, and it's quite a bit different than what I thought it was. And playing slide guitar, we start out with Robert Randolph here on our theme, and but the various kinds of brass, glass, and ceramic that you can use, and then just some of the technique that just. Discuss that a little bit for listeners, so they can get a clue on what you're doing when they're watching you.
It's a tough thing to do.
It is a very, intricate thing, actually, and you just brought up a good point. I mean, there's so many different techniques, so many different materials. They all sound different. Brass sounds great. I play ceramic, which is sounds like a brass, but isn't as heavy and doesn't damage your guitar. I play with a low action, lower than some. Because I do a lot of chording while playing slides. So when I played brass for many years, it would nick the frets of my guitar. So like little odd things like that. Which finger you put the slide on is a big decision. Rod Price and Bonnie Wright say play it on their second finger. I play on my third finger. A lot of guys play it on their pinky. So I mean, there's all these little deviations, and then you have so many different styles of players. I mean, Warren Haynes plays great. Derek Trucks is unbelievable. Randolph is, like you just mentioned. I think he's more of a lap steel player. But,
right.
So there's all these different techniques, and then there's so many great slide players coming out of Nashville, which are more country. You have to decide if you want a clean Stratocaster sound or, I studied Rod Price for so many years, and that's loud, distorted slide through a Marshall amplifier, so there's all kinds of muting techniques that you do with both hands, to get a clean sound. So, there's, I could probably do a series of instructional videos just to point out all these minor differences. It's not just, pick up something, put it on your finger and slide away. There's a lot of things, how you tune your guitar.
Right.
Johnny Winter played open A, I play open E. There's different tunings. To consider. So, there's a lot that goes into that slide technique, of any great player.
Well, and discuss that a little bit more, Brian, in that, I'm a I don't want to say former musician. I'm always a musician, but I don't play my clarinet anymore. But all the work that goes into, working those things out, not in the practice room, I would say. And, on your own, in your room, going through chords or getting fingerings down and things like that. How has that evolved for you when you finally were like, okay, I'm really kind of comfortable with the slide now, and I feel like I'm where I want to be?
I've been in Foghat now close to over 20 years, and the first 5-6 years, I was always very picky about intonation. I think that's probably the most decisive thing when you're learning slide is how to play in tune, because nothing sounds worse than a bad slide note. There's no hiding an out of tune note when you're playing slide. When you're playing regular guitar, you can add some vibrato or bend the note a little bit. On a slide, you're either hitting it or you're not. So intonation is probably the best indicator of someone's skill level. Some people are natural at it. I mean, that was my most difficult thing, was playing in tune consistently. Some guys just have a natural thing. Like we do a lot of shows with George Thorogood, and he just rips away and it always sounds great. So, maybe I'm a little hard on myself, but to me that was my biggest challenge.
And I didn't realize you play on the fret versus between the fret.
Right. Yeah, I think that's one of the first things you figure out. Because really when you put your fingers without a slide, when you play regular guitar,
Right.
It is stopping on the fret. You're just behind it, pushing the string down to that fret. So, yeah, once you realize that, I got to play right on top of the fret. So, that's definitely one of the first things you learn.
We're talking to Bryan Bassett. He's guitarist for Foghat. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of St. Louis in Tune. They're going to be performing at the Lincoln Theater in downtown Belleville, April the 13th at 8 p.m. You can get some tickets. Go to the lincolntheater-belleville.com and you can get more. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back for our next segment. You're listening to St. Louis in Tune with Arnold Stricker and Mark Langston on the U.S. Radio Network.
At St. Louis in Tune, we strive to bring you informative, useful, and reflective stories, as well as interviews about current and historic issues and events that involve people, places, and things. We cover a wide range of topics, such as the arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, health, history, housing, humor, justice, and sports, and that's just to name a few. While St. Louis in Tune originates from the Gateway City and covers local topics, we also connect to what's going on nationally as well. If you missed any of our previously aired programs of St. Louis in Tune, simply visit stlintune.com. That's stlintune.com. There you'll find the show notes and everything that was mentioned in that episode and all the other great episodes as well. And if you've got an area that you'd like us to examine deeper, well, just let us know by dropping us a note at stlintune@gmail.com. That's stlintune@gmail.com. St. Louis in Tune. It's heard Monday through Friday on the USRadioNetwork.com. and many great radio stations around the U.S. and, of course, right here in St. Louis. Our website again is stlintune.com. Visit us today. That's stlintune.com.
That was Bryan Bassett on the guitar starting that off, folks. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of St. Louis in Tune. We're talking to Bryan Bassett, who's guitarist for Foghat. They're going to be performing at the Lincoln Theater in downtown Belleville on April the 13th at 8 p.m. So
now, wait a minute. I'm just jamming on this song for a minute.
Is that your ringtone on your phone, Bryan?
No, not really, but I think it is on my daughter's.
I love that song.
So did you just kind of work on that lick? Or because this is fascinating to me. I saw the special on the Beatles of how they were coming up with their songs and how they wrote their lyrics and then worked out all their stuff. You know, songs that just kind of float together in 10 minutes are rare. How did you guys put your songs together? How was that song put together, and how are you doing that with Foghat?
Well, like I said, we were at that time changing our style into a funk style, and a lot of the bands, and once again the Commodores in particular, there'd be a chording, guitarist, and then a single note, guy playing a funk, single note line behind it. That was a song structure that was common back then. In fact, we played a song by the Commodores called "I Feel Sanctified," that had that same kind of combination. So it was done deliberately. I was the single note, guy, and Rob sang and did the big chords, behind it. And, he had the chord structure, and I just, came up with that line, the single note line to go along with the chord structure. So, we, worked it out in the basement where we rehearsed, and, we started playing it live. It's funny, though, that song, became very popular in our area even before we recorded it. It was like one of those songs, I think, that guys that didn't like to dance go, well, I'll try that one, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's the same one. I mean, how I always say we made the wedding circuit because, every time you go to a wedding, it's on the, the dance list, for the after party. So that, and, Brick House and, all those kind of songs. Yeah. We Are Family, and But yeah, it's one of those songs that I think people just like to dance to, and I think that really did a lot for it. Plus, it was kind of tongue in cheek, funny.
Yeah, but it's part of our culture now.
Right,
I mean, that song, it's got to be quite a thrill to produce and write and make a song that is part of our culture that people use at their weddings and just having a good time with. I mean, it's got that test of time. That's a great thing to have. Yeah.
I'm just, we're all, the guys in the band. We're still proud and excited that it's still out there. It's used in movies and things like that. So, I played a million guitar notes in my life, but those 9 notes will be the ones that people remember me for. So, but it's great to be a part of a song like that. It's exciting. My kids are excited about it. And,
it has to be. Is it still a thrill for you to hear your song on the radio or playing on a movie? Do you still get that? Does it still, energize you a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. It's just a point of pride, really. I love to hear it. Mm-hmm. It's not nice to be part of people's family gatherings, and to hear it at a party, and mm-hmm. My sisters and when my parents were with me, they were always excited to hear it, and I have a large extended family, cousins, and they always drop me an email. Hey, I heard your song here.
Yeah.
Or I just walked into a bar.
Yeah.
There's nothing really as a musician. There's really not too much better.
No. No. Pardon me while I turn it up. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I think it's
my girls get a kick out of looking at old videos. When I had big, bouffant hair.
Yeah. What was that all about? Come on. Why?
I know. I obviously used it all up by the way.
Yeah.
You and me both.
It all up.
You and me both.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
I'm always, I'm glad that you used the
used it all
Southern rock statement, because I was reading something where you guys are the quote undisputed kings of boogie rock, and I was like, boogie rock.
I like boogie rock. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and it's like a unique mix of blues, hard rock, boogie, and signature use of slide guitar. But when you talk about kind of I don't want to say this in a bad way, but how people want to put people in a certain kind of box. Okay, they're this kind of player, or they play in this kind of style, and that's not really what you have. Kind of, you play all different kinds of styles, but you have maybe some favorites.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think most musicians enjoy all kinds of music. I don't think anyone's really in their own mind pigeonholed. I love a good country song. I love, Vince Gill. I love,
right.
Keith Urban. I love all that. He's great, two great guitar players, by the way. And, I love classical music. My daughter's in an orchestra at Stetson University here in Florida. I love classical music. So I think most musicians have a wide range. What's lucky for us is, Foghat is a well-known name from the 70s, and most bands, when you hear Deep Purple or Ozzy Osbourne or, Led Zeppelin, you have that sound in your head. I think it's pigeonholing is a little tougher on unknown new bands when they're trying to come up and establish their own sound, and they get put in an indie category or this kind of category, and it's different, and radio is all different too than it was in the 70s. So I'm sure you guys remember the great radio stations coming up. You would hear Charlie Parker, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin,
right.
Blues. It was very diversified. So all radio stations are more split off now into country, classic rock, and what have you.
Right.
So, I think it's a little more difficult for the young guys now. Everybody that has a name in the business, has their own, basically, their own category, so.
Right.
Relationship seems to have been a big thing for you, Lonesome Dave and some of the other guys that you mentioned, about just being able to move from group to group and not being, quote unquote, unemployed at the time. Would you elaborate on that for people who are kind of getting into the industry or want to get into the industry, that how important those kind of contacts are?
Well, networking is everything in the music business, and I will say your musical ability is only 50% of it. Your personality, your ability to get along with people. And like I said, we play for free, get paid to travel, because travel, with a bunch of guys on a tour bus, especially in the old days, you'd be gone 5, 6, 8 weeks at a time on a bus, with 5 to 10, guys. and getting along is a big part of the music business, especially touring and live. So, and then being musically versatile and open to ideas, you can't, I consider myself a journeyman musician, so I always like collaborating with other musicians and working on their music, their writing. I'm not, some people are, stars or singer-songwriters that are singular artists and have backing musicians. That's, a concept that I see all the time, but that's not me, really. I'm a collaborator. I'm a band player. I'm not the main guy out there, which comes with its own, problems and its own challenges. So that's been my experience is, you get a bunch of guys that get along well and play well together, and then, you make your music.
Was that experience when you were a professor interesting as you dealt with some music students, and what courses did you teach?
This I want to hear. I want to hear all about this.
Yeah, this is.
Did you have bouffant? Wait, did you have bouffant hair when you were a professor?
No, unfortunately, no.
I wanted to see you in a tie and bouffant hair.
I was very
and bell bottoms
looking like.
Okay. All right, sorry.
I had wire-rimmed glasses and not much hair. So
wow. Okay. Just had to ask. I'm sorry. Okay.
Right. But I taught at the Mike Curb School of Arts and Technology at Daytona State University, which is a brilliant thing. I don't know if you've heard of Full Sail University, but it was a recording school, taught you recording engineering, music business, it was all around video editing. It was, but an arts and technology program. I taught what was called contemporary ensemble, which was basically, School of Rock. Everybody in the program had to, play in a band, basically. And I taught 3 of those, classes every semester. And then the kids would come in. Some of them were great musicians. Some of them were there for the more technical aspect of it. And we sort of made them play if they couldn't play guitar. You could play tambourine or, But most of the kids in our programs, were musicians at some level. So that's basically what I taught. And I think the thing that I tried to convey the most was that, hey, listen, I was on a #1 record, and here I am in your classroom talking about it, and I live right down the street from you. So success is not as far away as you may think, So I tried to teach individual, skills and how to learn songs. I mean, that's basically what I did, was run rehearsals and try to show, the kids how to run a rehearsal, how to practice, how to ear train by listening to records, what key is that in, what chord is that, things like that. So just really basic beginning band techniques, That's what I was teaching.
What I get from you, Bryan, is you are really grounded in who you are and in your craft, and you're not where I've seen, and you've probably seen too, what people who they kind of get out there and a little prima donna-ish, they want to strut their feathers around, and they're like the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Oh, yeah.
But there's something else that'll come along. But you seem to be very grounded, and I really appreciate listening to that. It makes it more enjoyable from my end, knowing that okay, the guy that's playing that, he's just a real guy.
Yeah.
He's not somebody who thinks he's somebody has got to wait on him and anything like that. I don't know if you've had that comment made or what.
Kind of haven't.
Well, I appreciate that. I consider that a high compliment. So that's how I think about myself. I mean, I'm just a normal guy that happens to play guitar and enjoys it, and and has been able to do it for a lot of years and make a living at it. Yeah, I'm not really down too much with the prima donna guys. Like I said, there are guys that are stars, and they said that is one of the things they have to deal with, is that ego, self-esteem, and and how you envision yourself as an entertainer. Some guys we used to call it LSD, lead singer disease, and but some guys need that with that ego or whatever it is to maintain their stardom, I guess. I don't know. It hasn't been my problem, I guess, because I don't consider myself in that category of entertainer. But yeah, well, thank you. Like I said, what you said was very complimentary to me, and I appreciate that, because that's the way I think about it. I think about it as a job, and I enjoy meeting people that have the same frame of mind that I have, and so I mean, I've been playing a long time, and I've met hundreds of musicians, and the guys that I tend to hang out with and talk to and remain friends with all sort of think about it the same way I do. You know, I run into people at an airport. Hey, how's it going? Where are you going? And what city are you playing in? And stuff like that. You know, it's just you know, that's the way I look at it. It's just a fun job.
Yeah,
that's neat.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to be normal. It's like,
yeah,
I like you said. Yeah, I live down the street. You know, and when I get done, you know, I'm on stage. There's 20,000 people out there. I got to go and I just go home.
Right,
sleep in my bed.
Yeah, right.
It's like, you know, get in my car and drive home. I know. It's like nothing special. But it is special. It is very special.
Yeah.
I mean, what you give us is very special. It's a very special gift.
I'm very, you know, I'm very blessed. I consider myself blessed to do something that I love like that, and you know, have it go over well with people.
Yeah,
and get paid to travel too.
Oh, why not?
You know?
That's it.
Yeah, right.
So when you get paid to travel at the Lincoln Theater in downtown Belleville, April the 13th at 8 p.m., what can fans expect?
Well, you know, we're going to obviously play some of the Foghat hits that everyone loves to hear and we love to play. We got a couple deep cuts from albums. We're going to play a couple new songs that are going to be on our upcoming album, which is just making right now. We finished principal recording and I'm mixing it. So we'll have something out in the summer, new release, studio. And then, you know, you might hear something a little funky maybe at the end. You never know.
It's got to be hard to do new rock music nowadays. I mean, I always see all these classic rock. I was a disc jockey in the 70s. I remember when Foghat hit the scene, and Sammy Hagar and Thin Lizzy and all these bands were coming out at that time. But I don't see that kind of a surge anymore. I mean, for rock and roll to be there, it's got to be a difficult thing. Is it difficult? I mean, maybe I'm missing something here. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's difficult trying to get new music by classic rock bands out there. You know, I mean, we have our fan base, and so we'll sell to our Foghat fans from our website, and you know, where all digital music's, you know, sold these days. We actually, the last few releases, we did vinyl runs too. So, you know, we have a fan base that'll buy some of our stuff. It's not like the old days where, you know, it's in the millions.
Right.
I don't think anybody is really anymore.
No.
You know, except the very tip of the pyramid. But yeah, it's just, the whole music business is different, as you well know. The way you distribute music, the way people consume music. I mean, I can remember in years past worrying whether there was 2 or 3 seconds between tracks on a vinyl record. You know, just you know, from a artistic standpoint, you know, does this song run well into that one? Does it, you know? So as a part, you know, I was on the Grammy board for a long time, and the producers and engineers wing. And this was a discussion where when digital albums, you know, got put up on iTunes, it goes alphabetical. You know, it takes the concept of a record, pretty much destroys it. You know, so we were, you know, trying to figure out ways in the new digital age to, you know, keep the integrity of a record, you know, song order, and you know, because it was a big thing back then. You know, do you want a rocker going into a ballad? Do you want this song going that? Should it wait 4 seconds to, you know, let the atmosphere shift before the next song comes up? So all those kind of artistic considerations in making a record have totally changed. And, you know, it's almost like a singles market now, like the 50s. So, yes, I don't know. Young bands have a whole different set of challenges than us classic rock guys do. You know, we have our record, you know, out there. And, in fact, we just, you know, released, there's a compilation came out on the first 5 Foghat record just came out as a digital CD package this past week. And so we have those records, and they're in the can, and they're, you know, sequenced, and they are the way they are. How you make a new record for an old band? Well, we just do it for fun now. And, you know, we record at our leisure. We have a recording studio in Central Florida, and we rehearse and write, and we record, and once we have a bunch of songs we like, we put something out. But, yeah, it's quite different from the 70s, obviously.
How fun. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, good for you guys.
Yeah,
you know,
like
we're grateful that you took the time today to talk to us. We've been talking to Bryan Bassett. He's guitarist for Foghat. They are performing at the Lincoln Theater in downtown Belleville, April the 13th at 8 p.m. Bryan, thank you very much for taking time to talk to us. We greatly appreciate it and have enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Take care.
All right, Bryan. Great. Be careful. Okay. Wow.
What a great guy. What a great guy.
That was fun. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. He is articulate. He's smart. He's been around the block a few times, if I might say.
Yeah, on the board of the Grammys for producing, and it's like he's really got his fingers in a lot of different pies that all relate to what he loves to do is music.
Right. What a swell guy.
Yeah,
swell guy. I'm not kidding. He's just a swell guy.
Yeah, because a lot of times you don't get that kind of response.
No, not at all. Yeah. Wow. What a band. I mean, there are so many great songs. I Just Want to Make Love to You was one of them.
Right.
Ride, Slow Ride.
Drive and Wheel.
Yes.
Stone Blue.
Oh, there's Fool for the City.
Yep.
That's all 70s stuff. But it kind of lasts the test of time. And there's still, there's kids in their 20s that I know that are listening to some of this stuff.
Well, what's interesting is he was talking about country music, and country music has taken on, and you've done country music for a long time. Yeah. It's taken on all these different flavors. And so you've got country rock, and you have country this and country that, and it's like this amalgamation of things. Yeah. Southern rock, Southern country.
Yeah. A lot of different
gospel country,
That's it. There's a lot of different ways, American music. It's just American music.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, Mark, name a band, because it's interesting how bands got their name. Matter of fact, Foghat. Let me pull this up here real fast if I can.
How did they ever get a name like Foghat? Now, I know Fleetwood Mac is Mick Fleetwood. He got that.
Right. Let's see here.
That's a drummer. I don't know if you ever pay it. I mean, Mick Fleetwood. What a drummer he was, or is. He still is, but I don't know if he's doing any work at all anymore. But you should next time. Let's try to listen to the drum going on in a Fleetwood Mac song. It's an amazing thing. He's got a whole different beat than any other drummer I've heard.
Yeah, that was a combination of the last names of Mick Fleetwood and bassist John McVie.
McVie, right.
Right.
Yeah.
So Foghat, when interviewer Gary James asked drummer Roger Earl, he's the original drummer, he's still with the group, is there a significance to the band's name? And he said, no real significance. Lonesome Dave threw out the name when he was like 12 or 13. He was playing a kind of Scrabble game with his brother, and Dave came up with a name and insisted it was a name. It's kind of like you're playing Scrabble and you go, no, that's a word. No, that's a word. That's a word. And Dave was right. We were on our way into the studio to do the artwork for the first album, and we didn't have a title for the band, so we had to decide, and it was Foghat.
Foghat. Is it one word or two words?
It's one word.
Okay, just want to make that clear.
So how about While I'm Here, Foreigner, the band Foreigner?
Oh, yeah.
British guitarist Mick Jones started the band in New York. Since he was a foreigner, he chose that for the name.
Oh, Foreigner. Okay.
These origins of band names is very fascinating. So give me another band, Mark.
How about I'll give you an individual. You may not know this. I'll tell it real quick. Conway Twitty.
Okay.
All right. That's not his real name. I couldn't tell you what Conway Twitty's real name is. I can't remember what it is. But his name comes from Conway, Arkansas, and Twitty, Texas. I don't know why, but Conway, Arkansas, and Twitty, Texas. That's where Conway Twitty got his name.
That's interesting.
A little country trivia.
Bill Haley and his Comets.
Okay.
Known as the Saddlemen. Until 1952, WPWA radio station program director Bob Johnson suggested Haley, rhymes with Bailey, take advantage of the common mispronunciation of Halley's, rhymes with Sally's Comet. Bill Haley and his Comets.
What a way to get there.
Yeah.
Now, was there Jefferson Airplane and Jefferson Starship?
Yes.
I don't know what, there was something there. I never really understood the difference. It was Jefferson Airplane, but then it became Jefferson Starship, or vice versa, or vice, or however you say it.
Inspired by the blues player Blind Lemon Jefferson and the name of a friend's dog. Jefferson Airplane is also slang for a used paper match split open to hold a marijuana joint that has been smoked too short to hold without burning the hands.
Oh, my goodness.
An improvised roach clip.
I never knew that. Yeah. Wow.
All right, let's do another one here. Crosby, Stills, obviously that, and Nash
And Young.
and Young, right?
Once, yeah.
While still trying to decide on a name for the new group, the trio considered calling themselves the Frozen Noses, as a vague reference to their growing cocaine habit. They also came close to including their drummer Dallas Taylor, but decided that drummers were expendable.
Wow. Wow. Holy smokes, that's tough. Wow, that's tough stuff.
Rolling Stones. From the Muddy Waters song Rolling Stone, the name was suggested by guitarist Brian Jones.
Okay, you have to. If you're going to do the Rolling Stones, you have to do the Beatles.
I am, and
the
that
Fab Four.
That was very fascinating when I read that
Yeah,
one. I was really surprised, actually,
About John, Paul, George, and Ringo.
because the Crickets were cited as an inspiration for the name of the Beatles. Additionally, the misspelling of Beatles, Beetles, their name's spelled Beatles,
Right.
was a play on words describing the beat of the band.
Beatles.
Beatles.
Oh. Whoa. So I never, all these years, I've
Yeah.
lived on this earth and never knew. So it had to do with the beat of the band.
Right.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I thought this was just
We
really
learn things
interesting.
on the St. Louis Intune show all the time.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, there's always something new to learn on St. Louis Intune.
there is. And now I kind of knew this one,
You
REO
did.
Speedwagon.
All right.
So REO Speedwagon was actually a model name of a line of trucks built by REO Motor Corporation of Lansing, Michigan. I knew that.
I didn't know that.
REO is derived from the initials of Ransom Eli Oldsmobile, who left Oldsmobile, the company he founded, to form REO in 1905.
Wow. Weird. REO Speedwagon.
Yeah.
Huh. There was a St. Louis band, Head East. I'm not sure where that came from. But
Head East?
Yeah, Head East. That was a big St. Louis band that started here. I'm sure they may not have anything on Head East, I don't think.
Head East. Let me look
Yeah,
here.
they probably
I'm
don't.
looking here.
No, I'll see it.
I see Humble Pie.
Oh, Humble Pie. That's a good one.
Okay.
That's a good old rock and roll.
Humble Pie. When Peter Frampton, formerly of The Herd,
Oh,
and ex
right.
Small Faces member Steve Marriott got together, they chose the name Humble Pie because they did not want the press to call them a supergroup.
Yeah, Peter Frampton was a big deal. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Frampton Live? What a monster. What a monster hit.
The Four Tops,
Okay.
originally calling themselves the Aims, AIMS, it was suggested to the Detroit Quartet that they might be confused with the then popular Ames Brothers. Since they had chosen their name because they were aiming for the top, the group became the Four Tops.
Oh, my. I like Four Tops better.
Yeah, I do too.
It's a good thing. Good thing they didn't do it.
So really cool.
This is,
All right, one more.
oh, really?
The Eagles.
Okay. They're American band.
Their name was inspired by the Byrds,
Okay.
who were a big influence on the Eagles. They started out as the Teen Kings and later the Emergencies. Don Henley recalled, "We wanted something simple, and we wanted something American, and we wanted something that was easy to remember, and something with a little spiritual value. Eagles sounded very American football teams and street gangs."
Oh, wow. 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 That's interesting. Well, this has been a fun show.
It has been.
Especially, even if you're not a rock and roll, you've heard these names, you've heard the stuff, and it's good to hear what's going on with it.
Yeah.
Kind of make you a little more well-rounded.
Oh, yeah.
A little more worldly.
So you have some days today, apparently. We always do. This is Mark's, the day of the day. Today
why
is the day of...
National Burrito Day.
Ooh.
You like burritos?
Yes, I do.
All right. I'm not crazy about burritos, but it's because they're so big.
Right.
That's the
Small
thing with-
burritos.
National Siamese Cat Day. Never had a Siamese cat. I've got cats, but I never had a Siamese cat.
Nope.
My neighbors did. I know. Never mind. I'm not going to even talk about it. Okay. Let's see. National Student Athlete Day.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you were ever an athlete when you were a student.
Yeah, I tried to be one.
I was a center on the football team.
Okay.
The only reason was because I was the smallest, littlest guy, And I knew when I snapped the ball, I had one chance
Yeah.
to get him, it's that
Right.
sneak attack.
Right.
So I snapped the ball and hit him, and that was it. It was all
was
over
it.
after that. New Beer Eve. New Beer Eve. In 1933, the government ended prohibition. And this date is to grab a beer and toast your ability to drink it again.
Interesting.
So you weren't able to drink it. Army Day. Today is Army Day. Let's see. California Poppy Day. Who cares? We're not in California. But they do listen to us in California.
Yes, they do.
Fresh Tomato Day.
It's tough to find fresh tomatoes.
It is.
Especially this time of year.
Let's see. This is Holy Thursday.
Right.
Tomorrow's Holy Friday.
Right.
And you know what happened on Holy Thursday? This was when Christ had his Last Supper. The Last Supper. And they washed his feet.
Right.
Yep. This is all right. Here's one of your favorites. I know this is your favorite. This is you. He used to bring one of these in all the time.
National Coffee Day?
No, Hostess Twinkie Day.
Oh, no, that's yours. You've got those stashed all over the place.
What is in a Hostess Twinkie? What is it made out of?
That's the key thing. Oh, you remember when they were going to stop making those things? Oh, my gosh.
They did stop.
There was an outcry.
There was. Another company picked them up.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think.
And they were made actually in Overland, Missouri.
No.
Yes.
Stop.
Yes.
You're a wealth of information. I'm learning more on St. Louis in Tune than I ever have.
That's why everybody should always tune in to St. Louis in Tune.
Okay. International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. Okay, never mind. That's like basketball. Anyway, Jump Over Things Day. This is Jump Over Things Day.
I thought that was the other day when I fell on my head.
Did you fall on your head? Oh, no. Okay, so we had the Beer Day thing. Now it's National Alcohol Screening Day as well. They throw all this together. What about National Caramel Popcorn Day?
Oh, that's good.
Is that one of your favorites?
Yeah, I like caramel popcorn. And stuff with, butter. I like butter. I like the cheddar cheese stuff.
Yeah.
Man, just don't give me any old maids.
Oh, man.
No old maids.
They say you're not supposed to eat popcorn, though. It gets stuck in your teeth and between your
you
gums.
floss.
And, who cares?
Yeah,
I don't
floss.
care. I'll eat popcorn all the time.
It's good for you.
I know it.
Especially with a lot of butter.
National That's it. Let's see. National Employee Benefit Day. National Food Face Day. So you're supposed to put a little funny face on your food today.
Oh, I thought you were supposed to put your face in the food.
No, you're not supposed to do that. National Library Day. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how political you want to get right now.
No.
No?
I have stuff on that, but I'm not going to talk about it
Really?
right now.
About the Missouri State Legislature?
Yeah, I got a whole thing on the Missouri State Legislature.
Because they were mad at the libraries for not throwing books out. This is terrible. It's a terrible thing. Here's my thing. Can I just say one thing about my
Say
thing?
it.
It's a free country. Don't take my free rights away.
Right.
Put the book on the shelf. If I want to read it, I'm going to read it. If I don't want to read it, I won't read it. Let's have a discussion about the book.
We want local control. No. But we don't want it right here.
Freedom of speech is the First Amendment. I mean, people say I don't want to hear that. It's like, no, people have a right to talk. They have a right to read things. Let them make their own decisions.
They'll figure it out.
I know it. And then let's just take away funding because you won't go along with it.
But the Senate put it back in.
Thank goodness somebody's got. They're not a knucklehead.
Some sense in their head.
I just have a couple more. National Pajama Day. Have you ever wanted to go to work in your pajamas? Have you ever done that?
I've never done that.
No?
No.
National Sorry Charlie Day.
Sorry, Charlie.
National Charlie Day allows us to pause and reflect on the rejections that we face throughout our lives.
Oh, I thought that was like the tuna guy. Remember the tuna?
No.
Oh, sorry, Charlie.
That's right. That's what I thought. Just a couple more here. National Teflon Day.
Oh, that's Teflon Don.
Yeah, that's when they made Teflon stuff. And two more. New Beer's Eve.
Yep.
Enjoy a sip of your favorite drink.
Right.
Because this is when and then the last one is World Table Tennis Day.
Oh.
Do you ever play ping pong?
Yes.
You're a ping pong guy?
I'm not a good ping pong player.
Okay. Well, we got about 5 minutes left, maybe less.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
So, the people who are the best to share a secret with, husbands, they're the best people to share a secret with.
Really?
They'll never tell anyone because they aren't even listening. I love this one. At my boss's funeral, kneeling and whispering at the coffin, Who's thinking outside the box now, Gary?
Terrible. That's terrible. Wow.
When I get bored, I call in sick to places I don't even work. Tomorrow, I'm getting written up at Walmart.
Wow. Oh my
I'm waiting to retire so I can get up in the morning and go drive really slow and make everyone late for work.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow.
I called my boss and asked if I could come in a little late. He said, "Dream on." I think that was really nice of him.
I don't think that's what he meant, but go ahead. Oh my gosh.
An elderly woman was walking her dog when a young man grabbed her purse and ran away. I asked if she was okay, and she smiled and said, "It's really no big deal because she carries her old purse to put her dog's poop in until she gets home to dispose of it."
You gotta love that.
If laziness was an Olympic sport, I would come in fourth just so I wouldn't have to walk up to the podium. Now, Mark, you have cats. I have a cat and a dog. Does anyone else tell their pets, "I'll be back soon," when you leave the house, or is it just me?
It's just you. No, I do it.
So my agenda for the day: let the dog in, let the dog out, let the dog in, let the dog out.
Wait a minute, you gotta let him in. You forgot to let him in. You gotta let him.
You know, there's this pay it forward kind of, you've heard of that, right? All right, I just paid it backwards by telling the drive-through lady that the car behind me is paying for my stuff.
Wow. To work.
This one's going to take too long because there's so many of
So you
it.
will receive some parting gifts from us. Thank you so very much.
All right, so here, find a man who ruins your lipstick, darling, not your mascara.
Ooh, that's actually wise beyond your years.
Very wise.
Okay.
I'll say that again. Find a man who ruins your lipstick, darling, not your mascara.
Oh, that's we should have where's the audience? The audience is, I knew we need. I don't know where anything is anymore. Ever since we
I have
moved,
some parting gift for you.
I can't find a thing. I don't know where anything is anymore. Okay.
A ding-ding will work.
I know. All right.
Hands on those buzzers, please.
Okay. Hands on those buzzers. I'm still looking for something.
All right, we'll figure that one out, folks. We're glad that you joined us today.
Yeah, fun.
That's all for this hour.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, when the Martians invade, they're not Foghat. But there's always only been one race, the human race, and every one of us have different characteristics and is uniquely valuable. St. Louis in Tune is a production of Motif Media Group and the U.S. Radio Network. For St. Louis in Tune, co-host Mark Langston, I'm Arnold Stricker. Remember to walk worthy and let your light shine.